Hi everyone, welcome to episode 6 of Emma's Happy List. I'm Emma and I just want to prepare you in advance for all the warm fuzzy feelings you're going to get from this episode. It's really a heartwarming episode, so looking forward to diving into that in a sec. On a side note, before we get there, I just wanted to say thank you so much for all of your support right now. All of the messages that you've sent from listening to the podcast and how you've enjoyed listening and it's brightened up your day and you've started your own happy lists. So definitely use the hashtag share your happy list, and I'm keeping track of all of them. And just one more update, I have finally updated my Instagram handle, so it's no longer EXLP, it is Emma's Happy List. So I should be fairly easy to find if you want to drop me a message. But remember, you can subscribe on the channel that you're listening to, and yeah, keep listening and let me know if you have any suggestions and I'll try and build them in. But let's dive straight into episode 6. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm really good. Really good. Bit of a rushed morning, but I have a jug of coffee and my happy list next to me. So this is technically now my happy place.
A jug of coffee. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I don't know why I did it. I think I freaked out a little bit and just went, we'll make for 6 people rather than just myself, but that's okay.
That counts. Do you know what though? Have I told you that I gave up coffee a few months ago? Have I told you that?
No.
In October I gave up coffee. I went like cold turkey.
Okay.
I know, and I had a cup of it last week though, and then I was up like, so I think I had a cup of coffee on like a Thursday morning, another Friday morning, and Friday night I did not get a wink of sleep. I did not sleep a wink. I was like, I think it was like 5:45. I like tossed my blanket away. I was like, I've had enough. And I just got up. Yeah, I got up, made myself some toast. I was like, I'm definitely not drinking coffee today. Sat in front of the TV, and I put one of Neil deGrasse Tyson's documentaries on. Do you know who he is?
Oh, yes,
Like
absolutely.
the physics man, Mac Daddy. Yeah, I absolutely love him. And he made me actually feel a bit sleepier. So then I went back up to bed at like 7 o'clock in the morning and slept for 3 hours. But anyway, long story short, I'm not going near coffee again because it keeps me awake and I've already got too much energy, I think, anyway. So
yeah, well, when it was first announced we were all going into lockdown and we were all sort of sent home, and when I was furloughed and everything, I stopped drinking coffee and tried to stick to tea and herbal tea because I felt that the caffeine really bought into the old anxiety and what's going on with the world and trying to get plans and worry. So it was a bit of a tool for me. But everything's cool and calm now, so good. Yeah, happy to drink it again.
I just realised I haven't even introduced you. I'm so sorry. We just went straight into like chatting away about coffee. But to be fair, you did say you had a jug of it, so why don't you just introduce yourself in your own words? That's probably the best thing to do.
Oh, wow. Yes, I am Rebecca Randall. I know Emma through the Girl Boss Club.
Whoop,
whoop, whoop. Yeah. We met specifically on a retreat this January, I think.
Yeah, I love that story though. It's like such a like, oh yeah, I met her on a Girl Boss retreat.
On a retreat, on a girls retreat.
Girls
yeah. It was quite an intense retreat as well. I feel like we went through something together there. Yeah, but it was good and it brought us together, so that was nice. And that's pretty much me. I am English. I have been living in Wales probably about 10 years now, and I live out in the green valleys.
And you are so welcome here, might I add.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, you stole my story. I was going to be like, and I know Rebecca, but it's good. You probably put it in better words than I would. Don't apologize. I know that you already have a happy list because you started listening to my podcast.
I did, yes.
I don't know what's on it, but
it's a very sorry happy list. I wanted to write it up beautifully in my bullet journal. I love bullet journaling. I'm quite a minimalist bullet journaler. But it's actually on a raggedy piece of paper, which is all torn up and has some sort of sums on it for our hot tub deck. and it's
Casual
written in
hot
about
tub.
3 or 4. Oh yes, it's been lovely in the sunny weather. It's got about 3 or 4 different pens used on it, so it's not coherent in any way. But then I think my brain isn't, so why would my happy list be?
Well, that's fine. And you know what? You can transfer it into a lovely journal should you wish to, should you run out of space on your raggedy piece of paper. And you can just keep that raggedy piece of paper like folded up in the journal as like a nice little memento to
Absolutely,
your
that would
origin
be great.
story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I did find when I started writing it, and I've been adding to it anytime something comes to my head or I'm doing something and I think, wow, this has got to be on my happy list. As I've been writing it, I find a huge crossover with my list of gratitudes that I try to add to each day.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
lovely.
And I think listening to your episode where you spoke about gratitude and being grateful and your attitude of gratitude,
Hmm.
um, I think there's a huge crossover for me in what I every day say I'm thankful for and things that have appeared on my happy list in their
Oh.
truest form. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because there is actually science behind that. So there's science behind levels of happiness and levels of gratitude. So basically, the more grateful you are in general,
Mm,
the happier you are as well.
mm,
I think it was for everyone who's maybe just listening to this podcast and they've not seen or listened to any other episodes. That was episode
mm.
3, I believe. I think it was episode 3.
Yes.
People want to catch up on gratitude and how you go about integrating it into life. So also we are recording this, so it will go up on YouTube. So if you're watching it on YouTube, hello. If you're just listening
Hi.
to Spotify, I'm just gonna explain. So Rebecca and I agreed that we would both wash our hair for this. Um,
And I didn't.
and neither
I
did I. I
didn't.
was just gonna say I'm so sorry. But you know, we're each dealing with lockdown in our own special way. So if that means,
Absolutely.
you know, letting the hair
Absolutely.
do what it wants to do, then
Yeah. And
that's
for your listeners' reference, Emma and I sat in on a wonderful conversation last night with some really inspiring women about authenticity and being your true self.
it's
So I
true.
got up this morning and thought, nah, don't need to wash my hair.
I'm going to be my true, authentic cave
Hmm,
woman self in this video. Yeah, same here.
that was the take-home piece from a conversation last night. So
Fab. So I can't take the anticipation any longer. What item on your happy list? So obviously it's not going to be your first item if you don't want it to be. Usually I'm like, what's your first item going to be? But you're ahead of the game, girl. So,
yeah, I have picked something that I go on about a lot on Instagram, and a lot where I live, and what we're trying to build in Forest Hill, which again
okay.
for your listeners is sort of my home, my working project, my sanctuary, and that is Hygge. It
Oh,
There's a
go on.
lot of things on my happy list that link into it as a general subject. So I thought that would be a good thing to speak about, especially as we are talking about happiness.
I love that. And I feel like there might be some listeners that are confused.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I know just because there's a place in Swansea. I'll talk about that later, but go on, you go on and explain.
Yes. So Hygge is spelled Hygge. It's a word from Denmark that is very difficult to actually give a definition to. Like a lot of beautiful Welsh words, it's
Hmm.
very hard to actually explain what it is. And even to the point that 85% of Danes say that you can't translate it
Yeah.
straight like for like word. The way I can explain it to your Welsh listeners would be if Cwtch and Hiraeth had a baby in a log cabin, that would be
I
um,
love that. So for everyone who doesn't know what a cwtch is, so I speak Welsh as well. So in English, obviously there's no translation for it, but in English it means sort of like safe space. So this can be translated into like hugs or like snuggles. Also, like we tend to tell our dogs to get to cwtch, so it's their safe space. Um, so yeah, that's what cwtch is. And then
yeah,
hiraeth is like a longing. So again, there's no direct translation for it, but the hiraeth is like a longing for a home that you know, but I don't know, it's a very difficult thing to explain, but I love your analogy though of them two having a baby.
Yeah, I
That's
think that
brilliant.
would be a good way to explain it to your Welsh listeners and those that do speak the language. There's lots of ways that people have tried to interpret Hygge for sort of our side of Europe, because in countries like the Netherlands, Norway, Iceland, even Inuit communities in northern Canada,
Yeah.
they all have their own word that has a similar meaning. One that I quite like that someone has tried to translate it to is a coziness of the soul.
Oh, I
Yeah,
like this. I like
coziness of the
this. It's so
soul.
lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, and all of these sorts of definitions and facts and figures are from the Independent Institute of Happiness, which carry out
Oh.
research across Europe into various ways and cultures that are happy. So Hygge can be described as a culture, as an attitude, a little bit like an attitude of gratitude or positivity.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way of living and a way of being with your friends and family.
Yeah.
And I think all the things on my happy list feed back to it, because Hygge is very frugal. It's more about the experience than it is about the material item.
Yeah.
So it's from basic things like making a campfire and sitting around it, to having a coffee on a rainy day like we are today, to a pantry party or an outdoor cinema or a hike and then a cozy blankie afterwards. So it's lots of different ways that are very personal to the individual, but it's also a lot to do with light. And
Oh.
from the Institute of Happiness's research, they basically are saying that over half of Danes will believe that it is essentially about the way you work with light, coming from northern European countries and countries that only have daylight in the winter for a few hours. It's all very much about a celebration of that and being cozy with your loved ones and comfortable. So that is number one thing on my happy list
That is
that it seems
absolutely
all other activities
adorable.
feed into.
That is so adorable. I love that answer, and it's something similar to so what Tom was talking about on the last episode. So he was saying, oh, okay, it doesn't have to be like on your happy list. It doesn't have to be, you know, a thing or an object or something like that. It's very much about the feeling it invokes in you. So,
Yes.
for example, if you could pick up your happy list when you're feeling not so good and you can see that word in front of you, it sort of is a trigger for you to be like, oh yeah, that warm, cozy, where can I get that now? Like I can go and make
Yes.
myself like cozy and have those lovely feelings. What's going to what's going to evoke that inside of me? So that is such a beautiful entry. And I did say earlier, so Hygge, so it's spelt differently. It's a lovely little independent restaurant slash coffee slash shop slash thing in
Mm-hmm.
Swansea. And so they spell it Hoogah, so that it was pronounced properly, essentially, because obviously if it was pronounced in the correct way, we'd probably call it like Huggy or something.
Yeah.
So, so Hygge's do the best wedges in
Mm-hmm.
life. They're so delicious with like the
And
chili
pizzas.
mayo.
I love their pizzas.
Oh, so good. But again, what they I think they've tried to do, so if you walk in there and you've got like all the fairy lights, you've got like the rustic wood, you've got the blankies and the pillows and everything, so they're trying to evoke that feeling
Yes.
of like what, warm, cozy, loving. Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. So if you were to sort of take that today
Mm-hmm.
into your context of your day to day, how would
Yes.
you create that in your life today, do you think?
So, on the sort of topic of an actual activity,
Apart
I
from the
would
jug of tea that you've a jug of coffee, sorry, that you've got.
coffee. Yeah. I would probably take the dog for a walk in the rain through the woods, go and have a little look at the view in the mountain, appreciate nature around me, give my gratitudes, come back, snuggle up in front of the open fire with a blankie and a coffee. That would be my little Hygge activity for today.
Oh, so lovely.
But it can be as big or as small as you want. Like as you said with the cafe in Swansea, Hygge has also become such a basis for styles of interior design as well, you know?
Yeah.
So I think when we talk about it as a wider attitude and a lifestyle, you can work it into the way you're renovating your house, or the way that we've done up the cabin at Forest Hill and the annex that we've done here. So I think it's more than just the singular activity. It's about having an appreciation and an intimacy with your loved ones, and an understanding and a coziness of your soul with everything you do.
Can I just say as well, so for the sake of the listener, so Forest Hill, where you are living and transforming at the moment, so we've had a couple of Girl Boss events up there, and it is amazing. Like, it's so, and it's something I really buy into, like the rustic, like homely feel, like a home from home. And when we went there, obviously, Marcy, another Girl Boss, did all the flowers. So all the flowers were laid out really lovely, and you did all the spread. What do you call that type of spread again?
At a grazing table. We do
Grazing
grazing
table.
tables. Yes.
Oh my God, that was
Comfy, eat as
amazing.
much as you like, nourish your soul. Hygge grazing tables.
It's like the perfect place, isn't it? It's the
Oh, thank you. We love it here, and I think just the fact that we are blessed enough to have this number of trees and views and nature around us, is what all helps. But I think Hygge as an experience is also in the details. It's about what you can taste, what you can smell, what you can feel, and the sixth sense of what you don't quite understand, but for some reason you feel at home.
yeah. And that, like,
Yeah.
so like it's sort of playing into that mindfulness, isn't it? Like that mind, like paying attention to what's going on, where you are, what you're feeling, and bringing it all back. Oh, I love this. Like, this is such a, like, it's making me feel cozy just thinking about it. Like, I'm just sat here like,
Good.
oh, where's my
Good.
blankie?
And this is why your tool of the happy list works, because I know that so many of those activities that I've written on my happy list all feed into this one way of living, this one attitude, which is what I try to carry forward in everything we do, specifically at Forest Hill.
I love that. And out of curiosity, so like, I tend to get feelings of, like, I get like wintry, autumny vibes from that. But what's your favorite season? Just out of curiosity.
So, really interesting question. I personally love autumn, but there's a lot of great Hygge activities you can do through the summer as well, because obviously it's all about light. So there's a lot of more Scandinavian festivals like Midsummer, which occurs around the time of the summer solstice, where it's all about being outdoors and plentiful food and eating what's in season and enjoying time with friends. So I really like celebrating that sort of thing through the summer, but also in the winter to get home and get cozy and get warm, and the fire's lit and Christmas is on the horizon. I very much like the autumn time. Yeah.
Such a diplomatic answer. You're like, my favorite is this one. However, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's. I sort of feel the same way. So for those of, like, everyone who knows me, they probably know that, like, I am such a winter child in terms of my activities. So snowboarding is like one of my favorite things ever, and I feel like, as we discussed yesterday, I feel my most myself when I'm on a mountain on my snowboard. So in that sense, I'm very much like a winter person. However, my favorite time, obviously, to sit around a campfire with a blanket is like spring, summertime, when all the smells are like out and everything is like changing. I've actually really enjoyed, so since being in lockdown, so we started lockdown on my actual birthday. That was lockdown day, so that was good. But what I noticed was, so out my back garden we've got like quite a big tree, and it was like completely empty, not empty, what's the word, like no leaves or anything, sparse, is that the word? Anyway,
bare, sparse.
Bare. Yeah, it was completely bare in March, and I've really enjoyed, because I'm spending so much time at the moment in my garden and at home, seeing like how quickly like that tree has like transformed in front of my eyes, but also like everything just sort of blooms so quickly, and you don't realize it when you're in like the rush of day-to-day life. Like, usually, like, you're out and about and you don't pay attention, so it's like coming back into that space of like paying attention, like being present, appreciating what's around you. So yeah, I really love, like, I really love, the spring and the light nights and stuff like that.
Definitely.
you were talking about like going for walks and stuff, I've got like a forest near me, and
Mhm.
I went down there the other night and I was so high on oxygen. Like it had just rained, and like all the smells and the oxygen and like the barky smells and stuff were like amazing, and I was literally like bounding around, climbing up the trees. I came
Yeah.
home absolutely filthy because I had like moss all over me, and my mum was like, what the hell have you been doing? And I was like, climbing a tree. So I
Why not?
climbed a few trees.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's something I'm so passionate about as well, is that rewilding of ourselves, of reconnecting with nature, and how cyclical it is, and how trees bloom and then leaves fall and it comes back around, and getting back in touch with ourselves.
yeah,
And maybe in all this crazy, unprecedented, strange time we're going through, it's a nice chance to do that and just look outside the window and see how your garden changes, and
yeah.
how we change with the seasons as well, you know.
Completely feral apparently at the moment.
Yeah.
That was such a lovely entry. Thank you so much. And as is tradition now, I'm going to share one of mine. And I wasn't really sure what to share today, and I was going to take some inspiration from what's going on around me. And we've had a little bit of change in weather. So we've had like beautiful sunshine for weeks and weeks and weeks. And in the last 2 days, we've had like lots of rain.
Yep,
But
good Welsh weather back again.
yeah, Welsh weather. And I feel like I'm a strange human because I love listening to the rain while snuggled up all day. Well, not all day maybe, but I love feeling it. It's such a coincidence that you've come on and said what you've said, because my one was literally snuggling up with a blanket when it's raining.
Hmm.
And the story, I feel like the story behind this is obviously growing up in Wales for a start.
Yeah.
But going specifically, when I think about it, I feel myself in a tent. So I don't know if you've ever been in a tent when it's raining, like British
Yeah.
summer holidays,
Hmm.
essentially. So growing up, as a family, we are like a camping family. So obviously started off with tents, and now my parents have upgraded into a caravan. So
Ooh.
I know, very posh. But regardless, I always get chucked out in like the tent bit, in the awning, the tenty bit
Yeah,
that gets
yeah.
stuck on the caravan. Yeah, I'm always chucked in there. So, but what's lovely is I've got very lovely memories of waking up with like the sound of rain, like pitter pattering on the tenty bit.
Mm.
And just feeling like a complete sense of like, I don't need to be anywhere, I don't have to move, I can just enjoy this like half daydreaming, half awake, like half asleep type of feeling, and wrapped up like cozy and warm. Which is the complete opposite of when it's actually sunny, because when it's sunny, I don't know if you've been in a like inside a tent when it's sunny and you're just like, oh my god,
Horrible.
yeah, get this blanket off me.
Boiling.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I saw like the grey sort of weather today, and like it's a bit blustery and it's a bit rainy and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, little hot drink now, a
Perfect.
little,
Yeah,
yeah, little pitter patter on the window.
absolutely.
It helps me
I'm
get
a
to sleep
big
as
lover.
well. Sorry,
Sorry.
I said it
Oh,
helps me get to sleep usually as well.
yes. It's that white noise. It's that white
Yeah,
noise.
it annoys the
I'm
shit
a
out of some people though, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, God, yeah. I'm a big lover of the rain and the smell of rain, and the smell of rain on wet pavements.
Oh my god, you were talking my
Mm.
language, girl.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
science behind this as well, like what, because I keep having this conversation, I need to look up the actual facts, but like something happens with like all the chemicals and stuff react when it rains, which is why it releases so many smells. Don't ask me
Mm,
the exact science behind it, but apparently we are very attuned to it for some reason, and it does make us feel
mm.
like good. Don't
Yeah,
ask me what. I need to look this up before I like come on and chat shit on the podcast.
fine. It's fine. No, that's all we need to know. Yeah, I like I like the rain, and I haven't always. When I first moved to Wales, it does rain here more than other places in the world, specifically England.
Yes.
And I think I find it an inconvenience, and oh, it always rains in Wales. But that all changed when I had a friend who got sick. And whilst he was in hospital, he couldn't leave, he couldn't have visitors because of the risk of infection. And during that time, there were terrible floods across the UK. And we would message back and forth and video chat and that sort of thing. And he would say all he wants to do is leave his ward and feel the rain on his skin. And that
Aw.
always hits me right in the feels.
Yeah.
Ever since when it's rained, I just think, do you know what? I'm here and I can feel the rain on my skin.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's also you know, some people say like they don't like going walking in the rain, they don't like going outside in the rain. My take on it is there's no such thing as bad weather. There's
Hmm.
only a bad preparation of dress. Like, is that you're only
I
badly
knew you were going
prepared.
to say that.
Yeah. Like I'm every time it's raining and I suggest walks to people, they're like, oh, but it's raining. And I'm like, well, you've got a coat
Yeah, yeah, you got a coat and
and
boots.
your
Yeah,
skin is waterproof.
absolutely.
So
Do you
what
know
are
my
you worried
brother says
about?
that to me regularly? Your
Does
skin is
it?
waterproof.
Yeah, it's true though. It's true. We should never stop what we're doing and our enjoyment because of the weather, because I mean, it's the weather. It does what it
Definitely.
wants.
Yeah,
Well, I feel like that is a lovely place to wrap up.
for
It's been
sure.
such a cozy chat, like a cozy little episode. I love it. I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to ask you actually, because you are a talented writer. I'm gonna have to ask you to help me write up the description for this so we can
absolutely.
entice
We
people.
will nail it. We'll do it
Yeah.
for sure. It's been wonderful speaking to you, and thank you so much for inviting me on.
Thank you for being here, and I will speak to you very soon.
Very soon.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.